it's better you have a jotting material with you. Though I'm still going to share the link on this recording. Now, I'm going to be opening Excel. How many of us are familiar with Excel?
I am.
I can see 3 of us online. 3 of us are online. All right, let me go ahead. I'm going to open Excel now. This is an Excel. This is how to open an Excel. Any windows that you have, any activated windows that you have, usually comes with Microsoft Office 365. And that's from 2019 or from 2016. So they are usually connected online, which means you most likely have to sign in order to make use of your drive, OneDrive, in order to have a sync at real time, so that you don't lose your data. By default, it's being stored on OneDrive. I'm opening a blank workbook. This is a workbook. Excel spreadsheets, and they are referred to as workbook. Here is a sheet. You can have as many sheets as you want. If you want to change the name of the sheet, all you need to do is you type whatever name, or class A. Let me use class A for instance. Class 1.0.
Sorry to interrupt you. I
Okay.
can't see the Excel sheet. I can only see your presentation on data tools.
Oh. Just hold on.
Okay.
New share. I'm supposed to go to new share. Can you see it now? Hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay. What I
Yes.
just did was to open a blank Excel file. This is how it looks like. I just renamed the sheet. Usually it appears as sheet 1. So when you double click, you should be able to highlight what you have and edit, as the case may be. Or you right click, like I'm doing now. You right click, then you have a drop down that shows rename. Do you want to copy? Do you want to paste in another sheet? So from this A downward, they are called columns. You can see I'm dropping down my arrow. I just place the cursor on top of here. Then I did a click, just a single click. It's going to highlight everything on that column. Now, I want to highlight my rows. This is how I do it. I simply take my cursor to one, for instance, and then do an highlight. Because we are not much in the class presently, I just want to take us on brief things you need to familiarize yourself on Excel. When I'm typing like this, and I simply do a tab, it's going to move to the next column. If I'm typing, I can decide to type this. I will simply mean, which means that when you click on tab, it's going to move to the next column. If I'm not saying I want this to, let me just put a name there. I say Jumoke. I say Raji here. Or let me use small letter. I say Raji here. You can see they are not together. So in Excel, Excel allows you to manipulate more. It allows you, it can accommodate large set of data. You can do categorically analyze your data, do visualizations, do reporting, and do other things on it. And when you have data, I'm going to download a data now. How do I get my data on Excel? I'll simply come here and do an open. I'm going to open to a particular folder that I want. I have some Excel sheets here. I'm just going to look for one I can work with. Okay, let me change the location. I'm with you. Now, I was talking about some data types the other time. You can see this autobank.xlsx is for spreadsheet, is for Excel. You can see this one having .csv is a text file. The same thing we have image file stored with an extension of jpg, .jpg, .jpeg, .gif, .png, those are image files. So I have some of these now. Then see online retails. I'm opening it. That's the first stage. You acquire your data, then start doing some cleaning job, like I will put it. If you notice that the data needs cleaning. Oh, this data is large. You can see it's still loading. Can you see? This data is actually clean, but it doesn't have an heading. There's no heading to this data, which means what we need to do first. You can see it's a very large data. Look at it. Look at the row 524614, which is why it took time for it to load. Look at I'm trying to edit it. Yeah, it's very large. Now, look at this, the heading. You can't actually work on this data because you've not translated to table. You know, we talked about something on columns, something on rows. But for you to actually work on it and analyze it, the next thing after you've acquired your data is for you to translate it to, you transform it to table. And how will you do that? Normally, this type of data, you have to consider using Power BI for it. Because on Excel, it's just going to be rolling and rolling. I think I have to look for another small data. Just a minute. Yeah, I think I have one here. Let me use this. In case you have an Excel, okay, let me use this. You have Excel not responding due to large volume of data. What the tip you can do is for you to do Alt Control Delete. Then you go to Task Manager. When you get to Task Manager, if you notice, you can see the CPU. I'm taking you outside data analysis now. You can see the CPU it's running at 26, 28. With Excel having 12, look at the memory it's currently using. 1 gigabyte. And you can see from the size of that data, that is well accounted for. So you stop it. That's why it's advisable for you to you must have signed into your Excel sheet so that you have the most recent version being saved automatically. I still have something eating up my memory, so I may decide to close one of them. So that being said, this happen often, and this is also subjected to the size of your memory that is still free. For instance, you have 4 gig, you've used 3 gig already. It means you have to make provision for you to work effectively on Excel. And one way for you to do that is you consider uninstalling some of the applications you installed that you were not using. And the other thing that could add to it is when you have your hard disk almost full. There are some recent system technology that allows you to exhaust what you have on your memory and then allow you to save in some part of your storage device, which is your hard disk. The same thing with our phone, our smartphone. These days, you hardly see a good phone telling you memory is full. They will still run, but they will not run the way they're supposed to run. Now, take a look at this data. This data is an example of, when you look at the heading, you will notice it has to do with fuel, engine size, which give you the idea that this data is for car related automobile data set. This is an example of automobile data set. Now look at this. We talked about qualitative and quantitative the other time. This is an example of qualitative, where we talked about names, we talked about sex. Now look at this. This column will be subject to functions like count, maximum. You can subject them to sum. You can subject them to average, but you can subject them to the number of frequency in which they are appearing. You cannot say you want to delete this because it's also vital when you want to consider the number of doors or anything as the case may be. So depending on what you have, depending on your target, you have to find out what you can do to work with your data. Now, for me to start working on this data, I will need to transform it to a table. And how do I do that? There's what we call, you select your, there's what we call format as table. That's your best option on Excel. Without formatting to the table, you can perform pivot table operations on the table. You cannot perform charts. That's why you talk about your visualizations. Now, don't mind all this heading. You see light, you see medium. It's just for you to pick a preference. So to me, it's not really that important. So all I need to do is I've already selected my table. That is why this thing was able to pick it. If I did not do that, it means I have to make use of this arrow. You can see the arrow is showing drop down. It's pointing downward. It means it's already active. I only need to come here. You can see it's showing some like a movement, a dot movement. You select this. You select by pressing down on your left button. You can see the column stop at Z. So I'm just going to keep it on Z. So I will make it active. I will deactivate the select button. You can see it has moved back up. Does my table have header? There are some data sets you get that you have to be the one to insert your headers. For instance, I may not, because I know this is a automobile related data set, I may have an idea that this engine location means I have to consider if the engine is in the front or in the back, at the back. So I have my headers already. I don't need to waste any more time. So I'm going to go ahead now. It's still running, it's still working. You can see it's taking a long time, but because the data is not that large, I have it already. So now I'm ready. When you look at this data, you will observe with me that I have some missing details here. One way to confirm if you have, please hold on. Still responding. One way to stylishly, I would say stylishly, check if any of these columns have any blanks. It's for you to click on it. You know, we've transformed it to table. It means it's already on pivots. You can see this pivot mode. Now I'm just going to do this. I'm going to rename it pivot one. For me to, okay, it's not going to accept that. I'm supposed to, okay, for me to just do a random check on if I can have blanks. If I have blanks, I only need to scroll down and check. This is how you do a random check on any of those columns to ascertain if there are blanks on it. We have some functions for you to, I mean, from formulas for you to detect if a particular column has blanks. Once you identify that the blanks are much and you don't really need that column, all you need to do is you delete. You can go ahead and delete. You can see the number of blanks that I have, that I'm having. Sorry, it's not. That's one thing about Excel. Yeah, sorry, I'm waiting for it. Yeah, just a minute. Let me just do a refresh. They have not done anything. You can see it's showing as not responding. Let me look for something as
Is it because it is heavy?
you said.